Hey guys, we are here in Logging Museum in Collier State Park, still in Oregon. As you can see, during the winter season, it's open from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's free admission. So let's go check it out since there's no people.
Collier Memorial State Park is named for the Collier family of Klamath Falls, which is located in the outskirts of the city in Oregon. Brothers Alfred and Andrew Collier donated the initial 146 acres of parkland to the state in 1945 as a memorial to their parents, Charles Morse and Janet McCornack Collier. Over the next 40 years, the state slowly acquired more land around the park, increasing the park's footprint to its current 536 acres. It is now managed by the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department and serves more than 350,000 visitors per year. Today, we will be exploring the Collier Logging Museum, which was conceived by the Collier brothers from the very beginning. The family's business ventures had left them with a large collection of antique logging equipment. So in 1947, they donated the first machines that would eventually be part of one of the largest logging equipment collections in the country. Its reputation as a haven for logging equipment grew over the next 70 years, and the donations rolled in. Alfred Collier continued to source new pieces for the museum until his death in 1988. The museum features equipment spanning 8 years of logging history. Walking around, we found the two main trails that takes you through the museum, starting at the cookhouse for each one. The cookhouse is the visitor center, but sadly only open from May to September. Let's begin in the Logging Evolution Trail that passes through the historic Cabin Village and through the park's large collection of historic logging machines and equipment.
So we're in the loggers village where their cabins are located, from the logger workers themselves to the dentist, doctor, and other people living in the village.
Historic Cabin Village. These 10 cabins built between 1880 to 1920 came from the homesteading sites, travel routes, or ranches within about 100 miles of the park. Explorer's Cabin. Explorers came west to find resources, timber, furs, and minerals, and their simple cabins were built quickly. The story goes that this cabin was built and used by a member of the Fremont Party in 1846 who came back later to settle. Trapper's Cabin. Trappers caught beaver, mink, and other animals for their fur during a time when fur coats and hats were common. This cabin was built by H.B. McKinley before 1900. Gilchrist's Cabin. This unfinished cabin was built near Crescent, Oregon by an unknown homesteader. Before he could finish, he was killed by a local tribal group. Overchain or Doctor's Cabin. Built by Art Evans around 1880, this cabin started out as a one-room log cabin and became the office of pioneer Dr. Wright. Even though medicine was primitive in those days, Wright was an important member of the community. General Store. The general store sold pretty much everything a pioneer might need: food, clothing, housewares, and farm equipment. This 1908 structure was the second one built by H.B. McKinley. Homesteader's Cabin. This family dwelling was built by Fred Dingler and sat on his 160-acre homestead. He probably built both this and the barn next to it in the 1880s. Homesteader's Barn. This hand-hewn log barn has a manger for cows or horses. It was built with bigger logs from the cabin and had a dirt floor. Fred Dingler built it well before 1900. Sheep herder's cabin. Sheep were kept for their milk and their wool, and occasionally for their meat. Dominic Vergas from the Basque region of Spain built this cabin at Bear Flat, north of Klamath Falls. Banta Cabin. Homesteaders Lizzie Whiteline and Ed Collins built this one-room hand-hewn cabin in the 1890s. It was eventually moved to the Banta Ranch in Antelope Valley. Radon Cabin. Built by Harry Dean in 1870, this hand-hewn log cabin was originally located on one of the oldest ranches in the Bly Valley. We will also pass along the railroad road. The arrival of the Southern Pacific Railroad in 1909 to Southern Oregon transformed the area's logging industry. Oregon's timber could now be easily shipped nationwide. As a result, investments in rail-based logging equipment increased dramatically. Railroad Row has two standout pieces of equipment, the McGiffert log loader and the Clyde track machine. The McGiffert is a marvel of the early 20th century engineering. Moving under its own power, it would hunch down, supports, and lift its wheel above the tracks, leaving room for regular railroad cars to pass under. It will then use its long, heavy-duty crane to load logs directly into the rail cars. The Clyde track machine laid temporary rail lines, called spur lines, directly into logging areas. Its long boom arms could swing to place a track in front and pick up tracks behind it. Coupled to a load of logs, it could steadily work its way back to the main track line. Moving on through the logging evolution trail, it follows the evolution of logging machine technology in southern Oregon from the 1860s to modern day. There are three areas of logging history: the horse and oxen, steam engines, and the internal combustion engines. Horse and oxen, 1860 to 1900. Those team of animals were the to-go-to work animals during the 19th century, and logging crews used them for log hauling duties in the early days of the industry. High wheels, large pairs of wheels that suspended logs beneath them, and wagons were loaded and pulled by the animals to the local mill. Steam, 1890 to 1920. Despite their invention decades earlier, steam didn't make its way to Klamath Basin logging operations until the early 1890s. Steam engines could pull much heavier log loads than horses or oxen, but their extra hauling capacity came at a cost. They were heavy, cumbersome machines that required constant maintenance and skilled operators. Internal combustion, 1920 to today. Those engines became popular with logging operations in the early 1920s. They were smaller and easier to maneuver than their steam-powered ancestors and could pull even heavier loads over longer distances. Caterpillar Incorporated was the early pioneer of internal combustion tractors, and today the company is a prominent construction equipment manufacturer. The museum owns and maintains several Caterpillar tractors, and a few of them are still in operation thanks to a group of dedicated volunteers. Now going around to the Cat Move Mill Trail. It is named for the basic process of logging, falling trees, transporting the logs out of the forest, and finally milling them into usable lumber. Cut. Bringing trees to the ground was no easy task. Before the advent of gas-powered chainsaws, loggers used axes and long cross-cut saws to muscle the trees down to the forest floor. In here, there's a collection of hand tools used by commercial logging operations dating back to the late 1800s. Move. Logs, once on the ground, presented a new problem, transporting their bulk to the nearest mill. In the mid to late 1800s, use of high wheels was common. Logs were suspended beneath the huge wheels and dragged through the forest by teams of oxen or horses. By the 1920s, steam or internal combustion tractors had replaced the horses, and the high wheels had evolved into heavy-duty arches that could carry more log weight. Chain-drive vehicles like the museum's Mack truck eventually took over log hauling duty after the 1920s. There are also tugboats such as this one, which was owned by OK Puckett. They were powered by diesel motors and were used to tow log rafts from Agency Lake Landing to Algoma Lumber Company, located 22 miles to the south on Upper Klamath Lake. Mill. Milling machines were complex machinery that cut the logs into viable lumber pieces. Jag-tooth bandsaw blades were used for larger cuts, while circular saw blades sawed the logs into smaller cubes. The park's historic bandsaw mill operated from 1930 to 1980. There is also the blacksmith shop. Tools and equipment displayed here were commonplace in active logging camps prior to the 1920s. A good blacksmith was essential during the days of horse and oxen-drawn logging. The Collier Memorial State Park Logging Museum is an important cultural and historical site that showcases the state's rich logging heritage. The museum features exhibits and artifacts that highlight the history of logging in Oregon, as well as the impact of timber industry on the state's economy and environment. It provides visitors with an opportunity to learn about the techniques, tools, and machinery used in logging, as well as the stories of the people who work in the industry. Additionally, the museum offers educational programs and events that help to preserve and promote an understanding of Oregon's logging history for future generations.
Actually, with my pants, coming the log. Hey guys, I hope you enjoy our tour of the logging museum here in Collier State Park and you learned some new stuff. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, bye.
So guys, if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and feel free to comment.
Hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell. Come on guys, hit the bell.
For notifications.
And don't forget to share.
And like.